from a stripper.
Everybody's out for a bigger bunker. Everybody's out for a bigger bunker.
Penultimate, second to last, 38.
He's not a man. There's nothing more to say.
Diving in glory.
Haha, yeah. I don't even know. Welcome back, Diving for Glory, man, a podcast that looks at football as an obsession. I'm your host, Pep Corciola, City champion, man. Looking forward to next season as almost everything is done, man. We sincerely apologize for the missed episode last week. Unforeseen circumstances attributed to our AWOL status. Luckily, we will not be fined, charged, or suspended, as we are just too valuable to the football world not to be in the lineup if we're healthy. Hint, hint. Diving for Glory, man, we usually post every Monday, but there is only one episode left. Next week, we will post on Tuesday following the Champions League final. Please tune into that episode for our year-end prestigious and egregious D4G awards. Don't forget, we are on iTunes and divingforglory.com, and now you can also find us on YouTube, video D4G next season, man. Follow us on Twitter, at Diving for Glory, and Facebook as well. Follow it, hashtag it, like it, do all that. All right, let's do it. Sir Solomon, what up?
What's good?
All right, Just a Cup, Jersey Tuck, Boost Lace, Diving for Glory. Word up. We're going to give you, man, we're going to run down, recap all 5 leagues, give you the winners, give you the cup winners, Champions League, Europa relegation, and what else is going on. We're going to start in the UK. Scotland, yes. No. EPL, man. English Premier League winner, as mentioned, Manchester City. League Cup, Manchester City. FA Cup was a Chelsea victory over Man United.
In a boring ass game.
Oh my God, dude. I basically just took a nap with my eyes open. So let's run this down real quick, man. Champions League spots. Manchester City, man. I want your verdict on their season. They had a CL failure, Champions League failure, but a crazy successful season. Erased Chelsea from the history books. I mean, they're going to go down as one of the greatest in EPL history. Yay, nay?
Yeah, they had a fucking spectacular season. Went out, ran with it. Were comfortably in first place for most of the season after, the first couple of weeks, and never looked back. Never really felt like this team got out of third gear. I wish there was a team that had a decent enough season to challenge them so that they could be like Liverpool in the second half of the season was spectacular when they were their marauding best. Man City didn't know what to do with them, and other than that glitch, it was spectacular. I look to Pep to actually have that solved by next season, actually, because they're going to get stronger.
Jorginho, Fred, I mean, they're looking at, obviously they need it. They're going to lose some aged superstars here in the next couple years, and they got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, but this summer they're not going to be either Jorginho or Fred will come, maybe one other person, but they did a lot of shopping last year, like Pep said, because they had a lot of aging guys. They got rid of a lot of guys. Now they're kind of set. They just need a few pieces to keep up with their depth.
Hey.
So
when you look at, actually, I'm going to cover that a little bit later. Second place, man, Manchester United. Look at this in totality is the same, man. This is a team, they finished 6th last year, and they finished 2nd this year. But it's just not impressive enough, man, to give people a good feeling. I mean, FA Cup finals, no trophies this year, Josie, none. Zero.
When they finished 6th, they were probably closer in points than when they finished 2nd.
It's possible. I haven't looked at that.
But, yeah, there was progress. But, I think that this Manchester United team should have been a lot closer to Manchester City and challenging them this season with the squad that they have and how they can play. And Jose Mourinho actually held it back. I think they could have contended against Manchester City.
And so that was going to be my question. So you do look at that roster and say that they should be closer to City, because I mean they have major gaps in the back line. Their flanks.
They do have major gaps in the back line. I'm not saying they're going to win the games against City.
They should have done way better.
But,
is what I'm saying.
They dropped a lot of games against a lot of bad teams because they were very overly cautious.
No.
And
Can't-
it's a thin line between being careful and being afraid. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's one thing to come out and play the Jose way versus a Man City versus a Liverpool. It's another thing to come out and do it against teams that are clearly inferior to you, right? I mean, that's the thing.
If you look at the team, as far as like team building goes, it's a very good squad, you know? Like they have Ander Herrera, Juan Mata, Paul Pogba, like a bunch of good players. But if you look at it as a Jose team, it's actually a very bad team because they don't have midfielders that are very good at defending. Their defenders are not very good at defending. Like he used to always have world beater defenders, Ricardo Carvalho, John Terry, even at Madrid, Pepe, Sergio Ramos. Like he's always had the best defenders to execute, and now
You wouldn't put any of those guys on that level. man.
and if you look at the FA Cup final, he made this speech 2 weeks ago about how he's not going to really play Eric Bailly going forward because Eric Bailly and Ivory Coast didn't make the World Cup, whereas guys like Phil Jones and Smalling need exposure to get a World Cup spot.
They got exposure.
which first off is exactly the opposite of what Manchester United the manager's job is. First off, you fucking Portuguese.
Who gives a fuck?
Oh, and he also mentioned like Rojo and stuff. Like he might get on his team. But the thing is, this game, Phil Jones was dragged all over the place. You wanted to expose him. The only thing you exposed is that he should not be even going to the World Cup to watch it.
Exactly.
Like
So in light of everything, though, failure of a season for United,
yes,
even qualifying for Champions League out and out.
yes.
There's no way they could have won the league. They
Yes.
weren't going to win
on
the
a season where being second and being fourth are really the same thing.
same because the points.
They finished second. He's trying to market how great second is. They're like 18 points away from first place.
Yeah. Got dominated by Sevilla.
Sevilla embarrassed them, and they went out in the FA Cup final with a whimper, with the coach talking about I'd rather play how we did and lose.
Like what the fuck was that?
Dude,
I've never
it's
heard
a
anything
fucking
like. I've
embarrassing
never heard
thing.
anything like that out of his mouth. Like that was like he's really just looking
He's
for
just
the icing.
like losing the plot, dude. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there.
And I don't think they
And
do either.
I think that, I don't know, did you see that Willian cropped out Conte from his fucking picture?
Yes, I did.
So he's supposedly saying that unless Conte gets fired, he's not going to renew. He
Yeah.
might go to Man United.
United.
But the thing is, United, this is going to be a huge opportunity if they get rid of him, but they won't, because I think Chelsea's problems are not huge. They can be fixed by a new face. Liverpool is on a fucking trajectory unlike any other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're a flawed team, but like with the kind of momentum they have, if they make a few more right moves, like Liverpool is a scary fucking proposition.
Yep.
So if they can easily get past Arsenal, you know, like their coaching appointment will determine how it goes, but they have firepower. Henrik Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, like they're ready to go, you know, Lacazette.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Manchester United better look at this situation and appraise it correctly, because they might get left behind.
That's interesting.
And I didn't even mention Tottenham.
No, but we're going to mention them right now because they finished third. Up and down showing this year. They started slow. They had a long period in the middle of the year where they were strong as hell, and then they finished awful. They almost Spursied it and lost top four, but they didn't. Third place. What was this year? Progress, regression, stagnation?
I would say stagnation, because 2 years ago they were the best team in the league, and they had that collapse at Chelsea and Leicester picked the championship. Last year, Chelsea won it. Everybody was talking about how well Tottenham played all season and how consistent they were.
Yeah.
This year, they were just better than basically Arsenal and Chelsea, who for a large majority of the season were just in a flux, you know, like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
And never got close to challenging anything. Like they got that game against Real Madrid in the group stage.
Yep.
Real Madrid is playing in the Champions League final,
Yeah.
and they got bounced and bullied by Juventus.
Yep.
All their
And a game that they probably should have won. They were up in that.
The cup. Pochettino talked about how he doesn't care about the FA Cup, and proceeded to embarrass himself in it, and they got bounced out of that. So
it feels like about what should have happened. I agree, man. Stagnation sounds. I don't really feel like it was much progression, or definitely was no progression this year.
In fact, I think it was stagnation, but they're gonna go on the way down from here because there's a lot of players on that team who want out. Starting with Toby Alderweireld, he's gonna be gone.
Yep.
Danny Rose, he's gonna be gone. And he underpays so many players that I don't know how they're going to maintain. But they're a very strong team. But they'll always be an also ran.
Yeah, they have they have a philosophy. They're sticking to it. They're trying to, do it.
We've seen this before. Harry Kane.
Agreed.
You could say Matt Letizia, Alan Shearer.
Yeah,
he'll have a season. He'll be a legend. He'll be wow. Francesco Totti. He's just going to be around and a very scary guy with decent players around him, but that's it.
And you look at, and again, to your point, same with United, like you look at the teams around them and Liverpool's, the moves they're about to make. You see their improvement. Chelsea's going to have to splash some cash. United and City going to do their thing. Like Tottenham, you have to do something in the market. Like you have to go after a transcendent player in some position. Especially
when a lot of the players you might be losing are going to go to these teams that you just mentioned.
Exactly.
The rumors are Manchester United. The rumors are Chelsea.
Danny Rose and Willian, I really actually don't like that. Like Danny Rose and Willian to United helps, really kind of addresses some of their issues.
Well, yeah, but I don't know how Danny, ever since that injury and he came back, and Mauricio Pochettino, in my opinion, completely fucked up his return. And
so we don't know about Danny.
So
but Danny
we don't know about him. But having a natural left back that was the league's best left back, as opposed to having a right-footed left back who, bless his soul, he fucking plays, but you gotta say that's an improvement.
Yeah. It's an improvement. Interesting, Tottenham. Liverpool, 4th place. They took it to the very end of the day, end of the year to secure their Champions League spot, but you could tell they were clearly distracted. Understandably,
other little cup.
Yeah, that other understandably with the European final.
Other things to tie up.
They had a super slow start, which basically crushed their title aspirations earlier. We had sections on the show where we were pretty harsh on Klopp.
Early in the season, we loved it a lot, but it just also takes a lot of time for the team to integrate. Like Mo Salah, we left, but nobody expected the season. I've seen him at Roma, I've seen him at Chelsea, and at Roma he was really nice. I thought they got a nice piece, but this is the best scoring season in the Premier League history.
So one question I would have about it is, like we said, since January 1, they were probably the best team in the Premier League.
Yes, in 2018.
Less Coutinho. How did that? Why? Why did that open up? Did it clear space out? Did it just?
No, I think long term, they'll get Keita and probably Nabil Fekir at this point, and that midfield is actually gonna go from being their weakness to their strength. But in the meantime, they knew through need that you just had to go balls to the wall and just attack as much as you can, and they just got faster, and they put the ball in the head.
And it's fair to mention no Coutinho, but they added Van Dijk in the winter window too.
Virgil van Dijk has been spectacular. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson on the other side.
Oh yeah, the young kid, right?
Yeah. They've played really well. They did their thing to where Trent is going with England to the World Cup. But even Lovren in the second half of the season didn't have a lot of fuck-ups. Karius came in and he's actually held down the spot.
Karius has been killing.
They're saying still that Alisson from Roma might be coming through. And now, because Milano needs to sell too, Donnarumma's on the market because Milan just signed Pepe Reina.
Did they? Oh, wow. That's major. Yeah, they're prepared. They're prepared to lose them. So I would say the other question is, even if they lose Champions League, this is a successful season. I think, for Liverpool.
Oh yeah, they've secured Champions League for next season. I mean, the stakes are high, and like, you should be disappointed if you lose a fucking game in the final.
Absolutely.
But
when you,
this is like,
from a neutral standpoint, though, like
from a neutral standpoint, Jurgen Klopp's system has caught on. Is scary, has respect of the league. They're on the up. They're buying players that we see in Europe playing good at other teams that are like really creative forces. So I don't see why you wouldn't be excited whatever the result against Real Madrid.
I'm pretty sure if you went back in these episodes, like we also bashed them earlier in the year when they didn't sign a center back, and I got to give respect is due, man. Like, they held out, they got their guy, they didn't want anybody else, and it seems like their transfer approach.
But I think that bashing them was justified. If they had got the guy at the beginning of the season, maybe they don't fall out of contention, and maybe they're in it. Like, who gives a fuck?
They were
if you
idiots over the summer. But I guess the criticism, I'm saying that the criticism about them, I'm saying that the criticism about them not signing anybody in lieu of not getting him. Yes, they fucked up. Deserve the criticism for not signing him. But they also got the criticism for not signing somebody. And they held true, and I got to.
And I still think they're one defender away from the spot, so like they still should have signed somebody, even whether they got him or not.
Okay, no doubt, because they still need one more. Yeah. They do. That's a good point. So that's Champions League spots, automatic: Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, Liverpool. Europa spots start with Chelsea, man, which is a weirdly such an up and down year. I believe at Christmas around Boxing Day they were in second place.
Yes.
But I don't think they ever really convinced anyone that this was a squad that was maybe even going to finish top four. Really thin squad.
Yo, win the Champions League, to win the championship, burn out next season. Win the championship, burn out next season. It's a problem, but it's not the worst problem to have, because in the meantime, you've won 2 championships in 4 years.
True.
So I don't even know how to diagnose Chelsea's problem, you know? The bigger problem is that Roman Abramovich was just refused entry into England, so we don't know what the fuck Chelsea's doing right now.
Their owner can't come to see them.
Shit, next thing, they freeze that owner account. But, like, they've been working well to wean themselves off of
the oil money.
The Abramovich money.
Yeah.
Like, they've been actually one of the better run business models. Sometimes I would say the argument is that they focus more on the business model than they do on the football model.
Interesting. Is that your assessment of them this year? I mean, they looked like a flawed squad compared with the one last year. Obviously, Bakayoko and Promadic.
It was a ridiculous season. The coach was actively, from the beginning of the season, at war with powers that be within the ranks of the team. And he is publicly, whether they win, lose, or draw, going out of his way to...
That's 2 coaches in a row that's done that shit, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, stop signing assholes. I get that. But like, it's hard to perform while this is going on. Like, this is a game where you have to be... You know, like when you play sports, like, it's a mental thing. And you're playing in this chaotic environment, it's hard to focus, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, how do you successful season?
No. I would say
awful season for them.
Awful, embarrassing season.
I think they're definitely the 5th best team, though.
Huh?
I mean, they're definitely where they should be, though.
I would say they're definitely where they should be, but I'd rather be where Arsenal is than where Chelsea is right now. Because Arsenal looks like if they make a couple of right moves, they can go. Like, this Chelsea team, like, where do we go with this? Hazard doesn't know if he even wants to stay. Like, he hasn't signed that extension.
So Matic, the United.
Willian is, like, maybe going, like, who's your focus? Like, Morata, he was a failure. Like, what is the thing?
This is their plan.
Rudiger and Christensen have been good.
So they're playing with fire here. Any chance they lose? Oh, wait. Let's hold on 1 second. Arsenal. Arsene's final year ends in a Europa semis defeat to Atletico Madrid and a 6th place finish. And say what you will, but they have 6th place talent, in my opinion.
Yes.
In this league.
Yes. They had 6th place talent, and more importantly, they had 6th place coaching. I think that certain coaches might be able actually to get more out of the team that Arsenal had. I don't think they had a bad team. They just would perform, like, during games, you'd see large portions of the game where they're, like, turned off. And keeping your players alert and ready to ball is a big part of the job. Whether it's through practice, which is rumored to be outdated. You know, like, I don't know. Arsenal is just, it's good they made the cut. I want to see who they get. The rumor now is that...
I was going to say, time for a change. Arteta?
No, Unai Emery is sliding into the front of the line. They're saying they might announce him soon. I don't know. But
so that's definitely one of the big questions I had for the summer is who will replace Arsene at Arsenal. We'll look at that a little bit more in depth here. But there's one more Europa spot that we got to cover, and that is Burnley. A fantastic, overachieving year from Sam Dyche. Awesome. Win the Europa spot because Chelsea won the FA Cup. All in all for them, it's a landmark season. Like,
yes.
7th place.
His brother Sean is actually very good at coaching too. Sam Dyche's brother, Sean Dyche, coaches Burnley, and he's really good.
Oh, that guy, Sean. Sorry, Aller Dyche. Oops. Thank you.
Very small squad, very disciplined, played defensive football throughout. It was like just a bunch of white faces you didn't know, and they did it.
I'm looking at you like, he has a brother? Where's he coach? Oh, shit. Word up, man. Shouts out to Burnley something, kid. Relegation, man. Swansea, Stoke, and West Brom. West Brom was down there all year. They just held on to Pardew too long.
Dude, I told you about that. Like, don't do the doo-doo with Pardew. And they held on. Stoke took them to warm weather training and tried to put the curfew on their asses. They walked out like just looking at his face. They're like,
come on, son. Yeah,
I'm grown. I'm like fucking here, 30. Man. I got a family, dude.
Yeah, like. Yeah. Anyway, Stoke and Swansea fell on the second to last day. Southampton was down there a lot of the year, but I think these are all about right. And I think the one thing mentioning is that all the teams that came up stayed up. Brighton, Huddersfield, and Newcastle with an awesome 10th place finish. And
that final game of the season, Chelsea's face.
Eye, yes.
Yeah, that was good. And West Brom had a terrible season, but they will be proud that Liverpool could not beat them this season.
Yeah,
that was really their only
domination.
Accomplishment. They had 3 games against them. They won 2 and had a tie.
Oh my God, West Brom, Liverpool kryptonite.
Yeah, so Liverpool next year is going to win the league because West Brom won't be there to put a
to put a
spanner in the plan.
So I got 3 big questions, man, for the summer. Because there will be defending champions and it's hard to repeat, how will City respond in the transfer market? We talked a little bit about it earlier. You said you think they're going out 1 or 2 players. I say more.
I say more, but what I'm saying is 1 or 2 star players. And then like a couple of just guys that they'll keep around. I think that also the Dortmund kid might get called back soon.
Really?
He's doing good. He might get some PT soon. I don't know if it's this season, but
yeah. Yeah, interesting because when I think about it, like between this year and next year, you're going to lose Silva, Aguero, Company, and Fernandinho's up there too in age. But there was somebody else that they're obviously losing Yaya, but that's that old guard, man. That's tough to lose. Yeah, I think they're
of all of that. Company is semi-replaced. Like they play 3/4 of the season without him.
It's true.
Silva, but they'll miss, but Bernardo is ready to take up that spot. Like I think he will lose his spot more than them losing him pretty soon because he's getting up there, and they're like that kid is nice. I think that Sergio Aguero is going to be the most difficult person to replace because goals is what this game is about.
I agree, and he's the one that they'll have to sign a star striker. To your point about Silva, I believe Silva is only committed through next year, and he said he's done. He's going back to like Spain or some shit.
Okay.
But yeah,
he's going to be like 33 then.
Yeah. No, it's time.
He's been a great soldier for the team.
It's time. And to the point about Company, man, I just like. He still played a bunch of games this year, and they are still obviously a better team when he's in, and that's scary. that you're still Stones hasn't come around yet, developed yet. Laporte is new.
I think that Stones had
He will.
a decent season. Like for a 22, 21-year-old kid, like that was a great season. On the defending champions, he played a lot of games. He had
rode
some
the
games
pine
where-
about the last 10 games.
Huh?
He rode the pine at the end of the season. Like, my man was not getting that. He was not getting burned because he was getting burned. he was getting worked in the title.
20-year-old should be getting the more playing time than that on the Pep's Man City team right now, dude. Like, that's a tough team to play on.
He was
and
getting
he
the
did
time,
still
is all
get
I'm saying.
time. Yeah.
He lost his spot.
Yeah, but you can gain it back. You were 20. You play a certain amount,
yeah.
like you have like sophomore slumps and stuff when they come in. You know, like
No.
growth. That's part of growth. But I would say he's played enough games too for a 20-year-old.
And from the eye test, I mean, yes, to your point, like I'm not worried about him per se, but I just don't view it as a very good year. I thought I would see better from him because he was there last year.
I guess
and
I
he
didn't
was,
have the expectations of him. I thought he's fine, and he was fine. Like, he got beat a lot of games, but yeah, like, that's going to happen.
He needs the time. He needs the
Yeah,
experience.
exactly.
Like, because it's the decision making. The ball skills are there. Like, you see that, but
I'd be more worried if he was like physically incapable, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
no.
know, like he's just it's more of a timing thing, like concentration.
agree.
Like,
I agree. He's still going to be the shit.
yeah.
So, second question: what happens at Chelsea, man? Conte, Hazard, Courtois.
Before or after Conte leaves it.
Either one. So Conte's gone, guaranteed.
If Conte is gone, they might actually keep a lot of these guys.
That's tough.
Okay, like we said earlier, Willian has supposedly given the team the ultimatum that if that's who they have, he doesn't want to come back.
Yep.
At the
Hazard-
same season that he won Chelsea Player of the Season is when he said that.
Does Hazard have no desire to go play at the Bernabeu?
Hazard just this week, until just this past week, he was always saying how much he loved it, and then there was rumors about how he wants, it's like more of a show me thing. They need to sign guys.
He's not going to be playing in Champions League for the second time in 4 years.
Huh?
He will not be playing in Champions League for the second time in 4 years.
Yeah, but he tends to play better when he plays about once a week because his style is very dribble oriented, and he probably win Player of the Year. So he's not obsessed with having the Champions League. He likes it at Chelsea. I don't know, the Abramovich thing might cause a issue, but
Courtois.
I think he stays. Courtois, I think right now the goalkeeper market is kind of silly season like a motherfucker, so if somebody throws around some money, I don't think that Chelsea is too attached to him either.
Really?
I think but I'm talking about big money. He's one of the top 4 or 5 goalkeepers in the world, so if somebody tosses like over 100 million at him, I think they take it.
Hell yeah. And then we talked about who will replace Arsene at Arsenal. You mentioned that the rumor right now is Unai Emery.
Yeah.
Arteta was
until
out-
this
was
weekend,
thrown
it
out
always
there.
Arteta, but all of a sudden, Unai Emery came out of nowhere, and the speed at which it's moving, it just seems like it might happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So to wrap up EPL, man, the Golden Boot went to Mo Salah, 32 goals. Kane with 30. Aguero third with 21. Now here's the assists, top 3 in assists. De Bruyne with 16. Sane with 15. Silva with 11. That should just let you know how insane the City team was. And for the sake of it, clean sheets, man. De Gea with 18. Ederson with 16. Courtois with 15.
I would say out of all of that, the is
Fuck yeah.
supremely, because
Playing
not
with
only
the back line.
and shots taken, like he faced, I think, more than double what Courtois on a terrible season faced, and he saved them.
Yeah.
He had more shutouts, more saves per game. Like David
Just
De
watching him play, he's crazy.
All right, so football you play from the beginning to like there's 11 positions.
Mm-hmm.
David De Gea is the best player in the Premier League. Yeah,
Because he's that what?
as a football player. Like if you say, oh, we don't play goalkeeper, but like the goalkeeper as a position and how much he's dominated that position made Manchester United's team relevant. Like they were terrible in defense. He saved more than guys behind him in worse teams that faced less shots, allowed more goals.
Okay.
And
Point
he,
take, no doubt.
He's carried this team, and I think he's been their player of the season for like 3 or 4 years running. Just absolute dominance in a time where this team is really like shit.
And I'm sure they're like, oh, our fax machine is down. Sorry, Real Madrid.
Yep, basically.
2016. Get the fuck your fax machine, bruh. Scan and email. I can do that. I can do that shit in my house.
Dude, when their fax machine works, Mino Raiola takes like $500 million from them. They shut their fax machine down and they have the best goalkeeper, man. Like, maybe they should learn something from that.
Oh shit, that's awesome. Word up, man. That is it. EPL all wrapped up. Moving on. La Liga. Winner is Barcelona. Copa del Rey winner, Barcelona. They crushed Sevilla 5-0. And Champions League spots, man. Barcelona fucking lose the penultimate game of the season, 5-4 to Levante in a match where Valverde sits Messi. So
it wasn't Valverde. It was institutional.
Okay.
Yeah.
They decided.
No, he played in the game. Like, they decided they made a fucking financial agreement to play some fucking bullshit game in South Africa in the middle of the week. So they rested Messi in a league game in order to play him in midweek in a friendly. And they proceeded to get rocked in said league game.
Wow. So rewind to the first couple episodes where we just bashed the board. Like, I don't even give a fuck about the La Liga title. Like, fuck the fucking board.
Dude.
God, there's some bullshit, man.
Like, they had a chance to just, like, even the PR is bullshit. Like, you have a chance to make this bullshit little season. Yeah, they won the league and cup, but in terms of, like, progress and where the team is, they kind of regressed a little bit.
Absolutely.
And you had the chance to whitewash the shit out of everything with a perfect season by saying, we never lost this year. And you decided you wanted to play a game in South Africa. And I'm not talking Qatar, I'm not talking Far East, where you make hand over fist dollars. Some bullshit fucking game in Durban where they're probably not making shit.
I do like Durban Poison, though.
That was some Durban Poison right there.
It's true, man.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Awful, man. So, and then you cap that on the way that they lost in the Champions League, and like it's a weird year for Barcelona, man. You gotta say it's a coup because they did actually re-sign Messi. Valverde just doesn't look like the guy that's gonna, progress the team at all. But still walk away with the league title. I don't know. Weird year.
I don't like how they play with a flat 4-4-2, which is something from like 1988.
Awful.
And the weight it puts on Messi, which he's risen to the occasion on many, but like you can't get past a certain level in the Champions League unless you have a better game plan than Paulinho, Andre Gomez, and all these guys in the middle, and just like give it to Messi and Luis Suarez and see what happens. Coutinho, since they got him in the second half of the season, has really, really shown he's ready to play for Barca. I don't know how it goes next year, but like so far, it's very exciting. The rumors are that Antoine Griezmann might be coming, but Antoine Griezmann being Antoine Griezmann, it's always a funny thing. They said he had already told the people at Atletico Madrid that he's going to stay before this last weekend's game, but then when he came on, the fans booed him. So then he felt really like, so now he might leave.
All right, man. Well, which is it, man? Damn.
Dude, he gonna go.
Speaking of Griezmann and Atletico, man, finished second in a wonderfully strong display in the league, I think, after a slow start. Simeone continues the magic. Europa League champions for the second time under Simeone after I'd say a lackluster Champions League campaign. But I'd say all in all, it's a pretty solid year for Atletico, man.
I would say, yeah, very much so. Especially the display they put in the Champions League in the final was spectacular. How they played against Arsenal, in the Europa League final. Arsenal, how they slew Arsenal in the game before in the semi-final was nice.
They ransacked the Europa League.
A lot of teams, when they get bounced out of the Champions League and go to the Europa League, they say, we're better than this. We shouldn't be here. And then you watch them get embarrassed.
Yep.
This is how you show somebody that you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
He beat the
Just
shit
go
out of
win it.
all the competition
gonna go win this shit.
convincingly. Like, if you look at all the groups, I mean, the knockout stage, Atletico Madrid, like, was gallivanting through it. Like, they were slapping
Yep.
bitches around.
Yep.
And Antoine Griezmann was basically
Second half of the year.
second half of the year in the Europa League was a guy that should be vying for Champions League top player award,
Yeah.
toying with people in the Europa League.
Yeah. Another trophy for Diego de Acosta. Real Madrid, third place. Odd third place finish from a team that is seeking its third straight Champions League title. But they were just awful in the league, man. Just awful. 10 draws.
In the mid-90s, like in the late 80s and early 90s, AC Milan was extremely dominant in the Champions League. And then towards the mid-90s, you could tell watching their performances in the league that they were really just focused on being a Champions League team and winning the Champions League. And Real Madrid looks like they've got to that point. They're really not interested in playing the season. And then in the middle of the season, because they win the Champions League every year, in the middle of the season, they have to go somewhere to play the Club World Cup. And then they come back from that. Before that, they lose. After that, they lose. So they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Nobody can beat us over two legs other than maybe Barca, who's really the only team that can beat us. So they never get Barca. So they just win everything.
Sure seems like it. Motherfuckers, man. Weird year. Valencia, fourth place, Champions League qualification. I just like, my notes say strong tactical performance all year.
Spectacular fucking year for Valencia.
Fuck yeah.
Spectacular year. Like that, the manager that they brought in and how he changed the system to where a lot of guys that are known as selfish, like playmakers or whatever, but not like workers, and he made them into a unit that worked. And they would take barrages, like you said. Statistically, they would get dominated, but they would sit back in their lines as they were coached and counter on you. And like, they were a headache of a team. Valencia, big respect on how they came in this year.
Yeah, man, for real.
And they kept getting like the results after results, like 1-0s, and
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. We looked at the stats a lot, man. They were like 3 shots, but 1-0.
Yeah.
Got
Danny Parejo penalty,
Yeah,
1-0.
in the 88th minute. Word up, man. Respect, Valencia. Europa spots. Spain, being the strongest team in the UEFA coefficient, get 3 UEFA spots. Villarreal, Real Betis, and Sevilla. Strong season, Villarreal and Real Betis.
I think that Real Betis is the basically most impressive team in the league this year, because they're the ones that is somewhere nobody expected them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like Atletico Madrid, you thought they were going to be second or third, they came in second. Real Madrid, vice versa. Valencia, we didn't expect as much, but we know of them. But like Real Betis, it's been a while. They've been financially stranded. Like it's been an issue. Now their old legend, after having gone around the world playing, comes back, Joaquin, and like they have a nice young team. They're balling out. They fucking get Mark Bartra back from fucking Dortmund in January and never look back. And it's like their fans must be so happy that they finished right in front of their most hated rivals.
Speaking of them, Sevilla, I have in my notes WTF kind of year.
Yeah, Sevilla did things like embarrass Manchester United and then lose like many games 4-0 and 5-0
in the league.
In the league,
what the hell?
It was even against Bayern Munich, they kind of challenged, but it was like it was just
and then they show up in the Copa del Rey final and get fucking smashed by Barcelona. Like, you fucking made the final.
Coach was the best coach in the world. Coach got fired. Like.
Aren't they the ones you said sold one of their players in the middle of the?
Villarreal, yeah,
Villarreal.
And also Atletico Madrid did that, but Atletico Madrid sold Yannick Carrasco, who was really a fucking cancer in the locker room and wasn't really getting as much playing time.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys sold their starting striker, Cedric. They're like, okay, bye.
Holla.
We ain't winning shit this year anyways.
Relegation, man, is Deportivo, Las Palmas, and Malaga.
Malaga fought hard to stay relegated. And then after getting relegated, they won.
I know.
But this is one of the least dramatic relegation battles I've seen in a while.
This was over
It was over early. All those three teams fired, changed coaches, did this, did that. They were just meant to go down. Bye.
So, big questions of the summer for La Liga. First one, does Real Madrid buy Neymar? I think that sets up the rest of everything.
I do not know. I can't make that call. But I would be extremely surprised if PSG gets rid of him after 1 year. Like, it'd be embarrassing to them.
He embarrasses them every week. And they're like, oh, yeah, he's off this week. Instagram, Neymar partying
on a
with
boat.
on a boat. I'm on a boat.
Motherfucker, don't you ever forget. But,
what's your feeling?
I don't think it's a good idea for Real Madrid to get him.
And he's perfect to take over Ronnie's slot over there.
So you're gonna get rid of him, Ronaldo? Like, what you gonna do
after
with
his
Ronaldo?
third straight time?
Yeah, like that's my thing. I'm thinking is like you're just gonna just.
Whew. Do you see it? I could see Real Madrid doing this. If anybody.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can see them doing it to get Neymar over Ronaldo. If that came down to the choice, like you have Mr. Proven.
Yeah.
He's doing it. Like he's in the final this
and
Saturday.
And honestly, you could probably just wait one more year, and justify it a little more.
Yeah, like I think I don't know. We'll see.
Does
If
Valverde?
Neymar plays another year in France, I don't know if I think he might be scared. They're gonna break him. He was an asshole the first half of the season.
Yeah, they were putting it on him, dude. He's out there and trying to and one people, man.
Yeah, he's being an asshole. He knows what assholes get.
Does Valverde keep his job?
Unfortunately, I think he does because the club is run by buffoons.
Corporate shrills.
Buffoons.
Does Simeone stay and Griezmann go?
Yes, I think.
Yes and yes?
I think that Griezmann goes to Barca,
Okay.
and Simeone stays. I think they probably reinvest heavily, and they're gonna be a good team still.
Okay. Pichichi goes to Lionel Messi. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't think that Atletico Madrid mind selling. I think they need the money, but they have to play the game to get more money, and secondly, to make it seem like he forced his way out. But business-wise, I don't think they're opposed to getting 130 million euros for Griezmann.
Fuck no. Yeah, and especially since they'll be happy to run with Diego Costa going forward.
And
anyway.
he's very high maintenance.
Yep.
Like he's kind of outgrown the club. If you look at how it went this season, I don't think they're ready to have another season of his antics. Like club that the fans have booed him more than 4 or 5 times. Their own fans.
Pichichi, man, goes to Lionel Messi with 34 goals. Ronaldo second, 26. Suarez 25. Messi also led the league, or tied for the league with assists with 12. With Pablo Fornals from Villarreal. Suarez third with 11. And clean sheets, Jan Oblak 22.
Who's a fucking monster.
22.
Yes.
22 clean sheets.
Oblak is like if you made Diego Simeone a goalkeeper. Man.
Dude, straight
He's
up.
a
How did they do
lion.
that? Whoever they're like when are people going to hone in on Atletico scouts?
And then, if you look at the partnership, like Godin, before he was partnered with various people, but like now the young Uruguayan in center, you're gonna also see them in the World Cup. Like that's a fucking scary central defense. And the kid with the Vrelesenko or something that got sent off against Arsenal.
Yeah,
that defense standing in front of that goalkeeper.
Yeah,
is like
22 clean sheets, man.
Yeah.
Ter Stegen was second with 18. And Ivan Cuellar from Leganes.
Cuellar.
I can't even say that.
Cuellar.
Yeah. Thank you. 14 for Leganes. Word up. That's La Liga. I would like to say it was a fun year. It was a weird year.
It was a weird year.
This
was maybe the least I've enjoyed watching
it was
Barcelona play.
Oh my God. So
since 2004, I haven't seen a team, even in bad seasons, I haven't really seen a team so boring to watch as far as Barca goes, and so far removed from the Johan Cruyff fashion of football than this team. Big up Lionel Messi, because I've also, as bad as the Barca season has been, the Messi season has been that good, and he's done a lot. But the team, like, they need to switch from the top.
Yeah, I would say I've been watching football since 2010. It's definitely the most unpleasant to the eye Barcelona team that I've watched. Right above that being the Tata Martino squad. I hated watching that team. They just a bunch of crossing. What the fuck are you crossing into a bunch of 5'4" dudes? Anyway, but yeah, interesting. But a little more excitement over here in Serie A. The winner was Juventus. Coppa d'Italia winner. Juventus crush AC Milan 4-0. Champions League spots, as we mentioned.
Milan crush Milan 4-0. Two of the goals were like pretty much own goals, man. They just handed it to them.
It happens like that sometimes. Juventus, man, despite their Champions League failure, you still have to say pretty successful season. Six straight Scudetto, I think.
I think 6 straight Scudetto.
Season will be remembered for that Real Madrid game, though.
4th straight double.
4 straight double. Wow.
I don't think anybody in NBA has ever done that before. But yeah, they'll be remembered for this season. Will be remembered for 2 things: how they just dick slapped Tottenham, and then they went out to the whimper later. But like that was
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Buffon's final season with Juventus, crushing it.
He seemed like he was more animated this season than he's been his whole career. It was crazy to watch. It's like he took like too many uppers.
Juventus actually had a title challenge this year from Napoli, which, at the second, who finished second, only 4 points behind Juventus. But there is like a slight disappointment to this season. They had an early departure from the Champions League after they were looking so dangerous. And a late collapse in the title race, man, hampered what could have been an incredible season. But they do make Champions League again.
They got embarrassed in Europe twice. They had an early collapse at the Champions League, and then got bounced again from the Europa.
That's true. Yeah. Horrible.
But for being such a small squad, they're impressed. They came through, but it just seems like Juventus, just different bridesmaids, but there's always the same star. And sometimes some season Roma are gonna challenge, some next season maybe Inter gonna challenge. But until somebody goes past that finish line, it's just the one team.
It's just the one team
league right now, dude.
Speaking of Roma, they finished third in a different kind of way, a wildly successful season, considering that they sold the best player in the fucking world probably this year. Champions League semis and I'm talking about this year, man. You know what I'm saying.
Still.
And Champions League semis and Champions League qualification must be considered a good season.
Yeah. They sold the focus is all on Mo Salah, but they also sold Rudiger in defense.
They did, it's true.
And they still Eusebio Di Francesco just got the team together. They play a very exciting style. Edin Dzeko was a world beater this season. Mm-hmm. They have a small squad, but they signed the biggest signing I think last year was the Sevilla head scout and president of football operations, Monchi. When they signed him, under his watch now, Cengiz Ünder, he found him from Turkey, playing from some small team. He's been nice. So I think Roma fans should be excited going forward because this guy is a scout.
Had the Barcelona victory and the almost comeback on Liverpool. I mean, that was pretty exciting.
Bounced Atletico from the fucking Champions League too.
Sure did.
Yeah,
did. Good season.
Not a lot of Spanish teams. Spanish teams have been dominant over the last 6-7 years in both Europa and Champions League. Mm-hmm. And Roma this year, beat Atletico, beat Barcelona. They're doing good.
No doubt. I wish they were playing Real Madrid, but they're not.
I'd rather watch Liverpool.
No, I would too, man. But fuck Liverpool. Inter finished fourth, man. They snuck Lazio on the last day. You watched that game.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about that game.
Yeah.
For those of us who didn't watch or didn't even realize that this was
So tiebreaker in Italy is not goal difference. Tiebreaker in Italy, as in Spain, is head to head.
When the first match was?
The first match was 0-0. Coming into this game, Lazio was ahead by 3 points on Inter. If they come tied on points, it will be through an Inter victory. Lazio is hosting the game, so if Inter has a victory, they're out. And about the 70-something minute, Lazio was actually ahead 2-1. One of their goals having come by bouncing off the bar and Perisic's head.
Oh, that's right. I saw that, Perisic.
Yeah, but the referee called the penalty, went to the VAR box, checked it, said it's not a penalty, and then 5 minutes later, it was a penalty by a player that plays for
Lazio,
but has signed earlier this week for
Inter Milan.
Yes, Stefan de Vrij.
So this guy who's gonna, so you're trying to help, you're on the field playing for a team to beat your team for the team that you're going to go to for Champions League next year.
Yes, it's a winner-take-all game. One team goes to the Champions League, one goes to the Europa Cup.
And the coach plays
And
his
the
game.
coach decided it's a good idea
We aren't doing
to play the guy whose interest it is to not perform well in this game. And the guy actually played very professionally, but like the irony of the situation is hilarious. And at the end of it, I'm thinking like, what does he do now? Like I would like you want to celebrate, dude.
How do you celebrate? Like
Yeah.
you just like you can't go commiserate with your teammates because
Like,
you
we
just
get
helped the other team
we'll get 'em
that you're
next time.
going to
Yeah.
play Champions League.
He'd be like,
Wow.
yo, we get him next time.
You check the
Nah,
check,
nigga, we go, I'm out.
check some bank accounts, son. Check some bank accounts. The coach. We're not doing awards this week, but that's a twat happen moment if ever I've seen one.
Yes, Pippo Inzaghi's little brother, Simeone Inzaghi. I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but I'm glad. Fuck Lazio. And anyways, I think Inter with the Rafinha loan, I think is going to end up being a buy. And there have been Stefan de Vrij and various other rumors. I think that out of Lazio and Inter is going to be the better team next year because like Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio is going to get sold. And there's a lot of old guys on that team also. So I don't know how it goes for Lazio, but I'd rather watch, if I'm an Italian fan of Italian football, I think that Inter can go further in the Champions League next season than Lazio can.
Speaking of Lazio, they finished 5th. They will be in Europa next year. They were pretty much top 4 all year, man. Wonderful season by Ciro Immobile.
Yes, Ciro Immobile. And the funny thing is, the penalty that was given up allowed Mauro Icardi to tie Ciro Immobile in the scoring.
Yes. What I have dubbed the gold cannoli. So Lazio finished 5th, man. AC Milan, after a horrific start and about 3 coaches, they right the ship enough to qualify for Europa, man. Mystery surrounds the club all season. Do they or do they not have an owner? Does Berlusconi buy them back from whoever this mystery owner is? Yeah, FFP going to get them, or what the fuck is going on? Will they have a player exodus or more spending like last year? I mean, like, just an odd season. But, Gattuso.
He righted the ship-ish. Like, I can't all the way commit to it, but like, yeah, it was, he did it, and the beauty of Gattuso is that he just like bleeds the colors, so you can't take a day off, but like he kind of organized the team. Hakan Çalhanoğlu started playing in the second half much better. Suso had a very good season. Patrick Routon started coming on. They have a good team. And they were talking about, I remember if we talked earlier in the season about AC Milan and how the Chinese ownership might not have the money, so if they don't qualify for certain things, they might have to sell players. Yeah. Well, they just signed Pepe Reina, and if Donnarumma goes on the fucking market, they might just be able to sell one player and fucking pay off their debt.
Pay it off, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Damn. Oddly enough, I had not realized, but it is true that there are 3 Europa spots in Serie A.
You riggedy realize.
Yep, and then that goes to Atalanta. Decent team all year. Made Champions League last year. I mean, deserved spot.
Yes, we could. I would really like to classify this firmly in the who cares section, because Atalanta is fucking boring, nothing interesting, and like I get more excited. Sevilla, Betis, all these people. Fuck this shit.
It's a play-in at that, so they might even make group stage. Relegation.
Dude, the Atlanta MLS team is better. They got fucking fans and fans and fans.
Ouch. Goddamn.
ATL.
ATL. Relegation: Crotone, Hellas Verona, and Benevento. Big questions of the summer. Buffon is gone. Does Allegri stay?
Biggest question of the summer. What the fuck is it? SPAL.
A team that made it. A team that stayed up. That's who they are.
They gotta have to find themselves a name. Does who stay?
Allegri.
Yes.
All right.
Where the fuck is he gonna go?
There was rumors he could go to Chelsea.
Okay, like he's just only winning doubles every year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'd be surprised because I think he's a highly overrated guy that's in a good system that allows you a large margin of error. I think if he went to Chelsea, he'd come right the fuck back. I think he'll be fucking fired within a season.
No doubt. How will Napoli and Roma respond in the market? They're selling players? Buying some players?
Napoli's biggest challenge is actually not selling or buying players. It's trying to keep Sarri, the manager. That he might, if he leaves, this whole thing goes to shit because it's his system that they've instilled, and he's really getting the best out of a lot of guys.
Maybe him to Chelsea?
There was that rumor where he would go to Chelsea and Conte would go to Napoli.
Ooh, interesting.
But that would suck for Napoli because Conte
would
is a
suck for
primarily defensive coach, and they're actually currently full of offensive wizards.
Yep, it's true. It's true. Yeah, and I guess the last question I had was, what do you think is going to happen at AC? But you kind of covered that. As mentioned,
they're gonna sell, but
yeah,
more of the same. Basically, it's gonna be more chaos.
Tumble down the table.
No, I think they're gonna actually keep going up a little bit.
Really?
They'll probably end up like closer to 4 next time.
Well, as mentioned, the gold cannoli goes to Ciro Immobile and Mauro Icardi, both with 29 goals. Dybala third with 22. Assists is Luis Alberto with 14. Douglas Costa with 12, and Insigne with 11. And Pepe Reina, newly signed AC Milan keeper, leads the league with 18 clean sheets. Alisson second with 17, and Handanovic with 17.
Yeah. I think the Napoli signing is huge for AC Milan because
the Reina
signing from Napoli is huge for AC Milan.
Just sign Napoli. They're like, fuck it.
They might still do that. They'll be like, we'll take Insigne too. Insigne is actually local Napoli kid, so like he likes it there. But the kid couldn't handle the pressure of AC Milan in terms of like the fans had big banners cursing him out. He was crying publicly and stuff. They need a strong old hand that can just come in and just do a job. Like AC Milan doesn't need that much attention on them right now. You know what I'm saying?
Pepe Reina been around.
And he's like kind of like old reliable. You know, he's a pro. He comes in, he does his job, he leads the team, and shuts the fuck up. He's a company man. You know.
What's Napoli gonna do about that position? Do they have somebody in the works?
I'm sure they have a bunch of guys on their team that we don't know where the fuck they came from, so they'll find somebody.
No doubt. All right, moving along to Old Saxony, Gaul, wherever the fuck it is. Germany, Bundesliga, winner again, Bayern Munich, but not for the cup. They got beat by Eintracht Frankfurt. Did I pronounce that right?
Sure. Gaul covered like mostly France.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said Saxon at first. I had it right. I always mix those two up. Getting history on D4G today. Eintracht Frankfurt with the DFB Pokal Championship. Champions League spots. Bayern Munich, after a slow start that cost Ancelotti his job. They bring in our boy Yuppie Hanks.
Yuppie Hanks.
Leads them into a runaway title again. Champions League disappointment though versus Real Madrid, and the cup failure That's a fucked up year for Bayern.
I don't know how it can be. They got the Champions League semi-final. They outplayed Real Madrid for large parts of it. They're basically the best goalkeeper in the world was injured, and some guy that they found off the street was playing, and you thought that he should take his place.
I
And
did
then
not
he's
say
like-
that, man.
You're like, what? You gotta stick with the guys to make the finals.
Yes,
and then he
you
was
do.
like,
I
and
still
then he was
believe
like,
that.
he disagreed with you during the game. He was like, no, they shouldn't stick with me. They should play Manuel Neuer if he's around. But
you
other than that, like if you look at it, they've got the rights to James Rodriguez long term. They have Thiago long term. They have Tolisso. They have Alaba. And
Hummels, they just signed. They had Hummels last year or whatever.
yeah, they're in good position. They put in a lot of the best performances in the Champions League this season,
Okay, two ways to view
and
it.
they lost in. Hold on one second.
No, you're right.
They
Sorry.
lost in the cup final to their next year's season coach.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's fine. It's not too bad.
So from a from a neutral standpoint, I agree. I know internally they wouldn't consider it though. Would you agree? They wouldn't
think
consider
that
it a success.
Bayern Munich does not consider anything less than a treble a success.
Okay, no doubt.
The last time this dude one day woke up and was like, I think I'll retire. And he won the treble and they're like, yo, we already got Pep. Go retire. Like,
Appreciate that.
you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't give a fuck out there. FC Hollywood.
FC Hollywood, no doubt. Bayern Munich. Second place, Schalke 04. Solid second place showing all year from what was probably clearly the second best team in Germany all year.
I wouldn't say clearly the second best team because after the drop off from Bayern Munich,
yeah.
the second place spots with RB, Dortmund, Schalke, Frankfurt was, and towards the end, Wolfsburg came up and stole one. But like that level of like 5, 6, 7 teams were at the same level behind Bayern Munich. I thought.
No, they were. I just felt like Schalke had a little bit more consistency
Yeah,
than the other
they
teams.
did.
The
They
other
did.
teams
They-
were just up and down. But solid, man. They'll be in Champions League next year. I believe they were out of it for maybe a couple years.
Yes.
And to your point, I think you said it was Wolfsburg. It wasn't. It was Hoffenheim who
those
snuck
are-
in
yes.
with the surprise
Wolfsburg
third
was
place
at the
finish.
other side of the league, actually.
Yeah, exactly. They beat Dortmund on the last day to secure third place, and they could have been fifth with a loss. So that's
So
That's
Julian
huge.
Nagelsmann last year took them in the Champions League playoff against Liverpool. As finished fourth place, club's best ever finish. Liverpool eliminates them from Champions League. The guy goes from being an unknown to being so talked about that he becomes overrated and people start talking about him as the next Bayern coach. And then they go through a little dry patch in the middle of the season, and everybody's like, is Julian Nagelsmann going to get fired? And how does he finish off the season? They finish
Champions League third.
third, which is last year finishing fourth was their best ever finish.
Finish.
And now they finished third.
Yeah. Boom. Boom. That sounds like a solid fucking coaching job. Solid coaching
that
job.
guy, he's not even 40 yet.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like 33 or something.
I ain't either.
Me too.
Yeah, that's right. We're about 6 days.
Yeah.
Fourth place, BVB, Dortmund, up and down, topsy-turvy season, which still sees them qualify for the Champions League. And considering everything they went through with a coaching change, a few injuries here and there, and the Aubameyang sale, I mean, for them to come through with that is pretty solid, actually.
Yeah. The talent they have is just so... They have so much talent that they kind of rode through it, through the chaos too. Because even at the beginning, when we knew there was a problem with Bosch, before they fired him, they won a lot of games by just like going shootouts. Remember, in fact, the first conversation we had about Schalke was when the Schalke Dortmund game ended 4-4.
Yeah.
the wine yarn derby something. But they've always maintained offensive philosophy, and getting Michy Batshuayi in January
he balled out.
Changed the game.
Yeah, he balled out for them. Dortmund, Champions League, Europa, Leverkusen finished 5th on goal difference. Definitely disappointing for a team that made Champions League last year. Dropped 2 points to Werder Bremen on the second to last match of the season, which saw them.
I think their best player was Leon Bailey, and I think he's going to be on the market this summer. So Leverkusen, I don't know what direction they're really going to be going in next year.
And I feel similar about RB, who finished 6th, Europa qualification, and up most of the year, and then they fell like way the fuck off, like about halfway through. Keita being sold, probably Werner too. Like, what does this look like?
I think that their model is to sell and buy, so they will keep some, but like they're gonna get a bunch of guys. But Yusuf Poulsen, like they have, is more than Keita and what's his face?
Werner.
They have a bunch of players. What they do with them, I have no idea, because this team just came out of the blue in like 4 years ago. So they're scary, but they could also go from being that to being insignificant in no time.
Yeah, easy. And even though Bundesliga has only 2 Europa spots, just like EPL, they get a third one from their cup winner, which Frankfurt now will be in Europa.
That's Niko Kovac's goodbye to them. He coached them to
8th place finish.
And final win over his next season employers. And big up to Kevin Prince Boateng. He plays for them.
No
He
doubt.
shows up all over the place.
Relegation, Hamburg, Cologne, and Wolfsburg has a playoff game against Holstein Kiel. 2 legs. They will play that. I believe they're playing right now, matter of fact.
They won the first leg.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No doubt.
It's how many years running? Because it's the third from bottom in the top league against the third from top. So essentially, like it's such a huge gap that they just regularly beat them. It's just an inconvenience, really, unless you really
It's
fuck up.
annoying. Yes, I don't like that, actually.
I think they should just go down and the other
go
teams-
down. Yeah.
I think they should have a playoff among the guys, like 3 to 6, like how they do in the championship for the last spot. But like, if you're gonna go down, go fucking down.
Go down. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to. Oh, we stayed up through the play. Get the fuck out of here.
You heard that? Though?
Yeah. go down. Go down. That's a good motto. Big questions of the summer, man. How does Bayern respond with the new coach and Lewandowski? Is there any chance he moves?
I don't think so. If Bayern Munich doesn't want you to go anywhere, you're not going anywhere. I think they probably give him a little more raise, and he stays. I think Bayern Munich just keeps doing Bayern Munich things.
Can any team retool enough to compete with them next year?
Supposedly, the OGC Nice coach has just signed for Borussia Dortmund as their next season manager. And if they get their act together, Borussia Dortmund is the team that can challenge Bayern Munich for that title.
I think one thing we failed to mention, even in EPL and discussing Dortmund, was that they lost their head scout to Arsenal, which is an interesting. I mean, man, they've been pulling those young guys out like it ain't shit.
Yeah, I mean they haven't all been his, but it's gonna be good for Arsenal. He took the guy that he got with him, and he's reunited with them in Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang.
Aubameyang. And the last question I have, man, is like, what can Bundesliga do to combat the English money? Like, this is like a larger question going forward, but like,
Nothing.
I'm looking at
Bayern Munich.
I'm looking at a lot of the play, like they're not support Bayern Munich. Oh shit! I mean, I'm like looking like there's a lot of like young talent in some of the other leagues. It's just not that much in the. It's already been like scavenged almost from
I don't know.
from
I watched the
Bundesliga.
games and like there's a fuckload of talent.
I mean, there's still talent in the league. They're one of the top 5 leagues in the
I
world.
would say that a lot of their players are ready-made to go to whatever leagues that you take them to. The German league is the most versatile players come out of it. Like, you can play them in whatever system. A lot of the guys that play, like, it's just very... In fact, I would buy finished products from Germany over, like, France or Italy more often than not.
I guess I just look at, like, 3-4 years ago, and you would have saw... Well, I mean, fuck, they're all in the Premier League now. You would have saw De Bruyne, you would have saw Mkhitaryan, you would have saw Gundogan, you would have saw a lot of dudes that I just knew names, and I guess maybe I just haven't familiarized myself as like.
And a lot of them, you know them in the Premier League, and you're just backtracking on their careers, and they must have been awesome there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are guys that if they get that 50 million transfer, will be Gundogan tomorrow. You know, I was talking about Eric Bailly earlier. Dortmund has like a bunch of fucking players. With like even starting with a player like Pulisic and Jadon Sancho, and like they're loaded. RB has a lot of fucking players on their squad. Like you watch the German football, and it's impressive actually.
No doubt. All right, so the golden shower boot goes to Lewandowski, 29. Not even close. Nils Peterson with 15 and Kevin Volland with 14. Thomas Mueller leads the league in assists with 14. Philip Max with 12 and James Rodriguez with 11. Clean sheets is a three-way tie between the Bayern keeper, the Dortmund keeper, and the Stuttgart keeper. That's Bundesliga, man. Da ha ha. Finishing it up. League, make them say, And you already know, with the domestic treble, PSG, the Coupe de France, the Coupe de la Ligue.
If you have more than one cup, like I don't consider Man City to have had a double this year. I think they had a 1.5. Like the FA Cup would have been a double. Like even in France, they need to tell us which one is the FA Cup one.
I agree.
Give that as the double. Like you can't have a treble and be embarrassed in Europe.
I think it's the Coupe de France is the FA Cup one.
Okay. Did they win that one?
Yeah, they did.
And they won the other one?
Yeah.
So they have 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. Word up. So that's PSG. Like totally, of course. Champions League spots, PSG. Weird season, man. The Neymar circus. That's how they started it. But total domination of the league. And we're on their way out of the Champions League as it was, it seemed, when Neymar got hurt. Unai Emery is sacrificial lamb here, and Tuchel in next year.
I don't know how that's going to work because Tuchel is not really a player's coach. When he looks at opponents, actually, it's like they say it doesn't matter who the player is. He just wants to find that system and stuff. And he seems like he's good at one of those like Tottenham level clubs, second level. Like I would be if Tuchel was signed by like say Arsenal, for example. It would be exciting that at this club you needed a guy that strokes egos and makes them perform. I don't know if that's the guy. We'll see.
No doubt. You know, they were the talk of the world for the first half of the year, and then once Neymar went down, it's kind of like anyway. But a lot of drama, a lot of circus stories. Like it was.
It's all passe when you just like go out with a whimper in the Champions League, and then you win the French league. It's like because it's weak.
It's weak as hell.
You know, if you had at least shown yourself like Bayern Munich in the Champions League, you keep like going at people. Even when you get eliminated, you're dominant. Then people look at the rest of your league and they're like, we understand them losing to that fucking colossus of a team.
Yeah.
But then like now people looking at France like, y'all losing to these bitches?
Second place, Monaco, man. They stayed pretty strong after selling a bunch of fucking players. I would look for them to sell a bunch more.
Yes, and that was like the quietest second place showing. All through the season, it seems like Lyon and Marseille were getting more attention than Monaco, but they maintained. They were in or around second for most of the season. There was earlier in the season one time where they kind of flirted with getting close to PSG, and that game against PSG, they got waxed and they never tried again.
Yeah, they lost to PSG in the Coupe de la Ligue in the final 3-0.
Oh yeah.
Lyon, third place, very good season. Nabil Fekir, as mentioned, is the man. Memphis Depay enjoying a nice
Memphis to get paid.
Yeah, he is.
That dude, hat-trick on final day, saves Champions League spot over Marseille.
We've mentioned him a couple times this year, especially like in comeback scenarios, 90-something minute goals,
game-winning goals left and right. Like he's had an amazing season for them.
And he's like right? Like he's a stocky dude. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of like good for
Right.
still with the speed.
Oh,
so he's
yeah,
like good
oh,
for
yeah.
a French
And
league.
a lot of these games that he scored the winner on, he's coming in as a sub too. Like he's not starting every game. He's come on as impact sub. They're just a fun team to watch.
Word up. Europa spots. With 2 chances to make it to Champions League, Marseille fail at both. They lose in the Europa League finals to Atletico, which is no surprise. And missing the Champions League, man, kind of fucks up kind of a potentially amazing season. If they would have made Champions League and won Europa, that would have been awesome.
Winning the Europa on its own would have been awesome. Champions League would have gotten paid, but like they would never ever be even close to competing.
No.
So
Payet, strong second half of the season. Thauvin, balling. Sold.
yes, Valerie Germain.
Thauvin sold?
Huh?
They'll sell still Thauvin?
I don't know because he's been in Newcastle. He's gone to Newcastle before, and when he came back to Marseille, is when he felt at home and he started performing. So I don't know if he's the kind of person that's just gonna want to stay because it's his comfort zone, or if he's gonna push for a move. But if he does, like they should be very excited because that kid on the wings is fire.
Man, I've been to Marseille, and that Bouya base is fire too. I'd be trying to stay there.
Booyah, Kasha?
Nah, the Bouya base.
I don't know
Bouya
if I
base. Fish soup.
Oh, nah, I'm good.
Banging. Stade Rennes make Europa. This is a very strong showing in a return to Europe for the
Yes,
first
what's up, Romain?
time.
Your team Stade Rennes is in the house.
Yeah, Stade Rennes. It's the first time in Europe since 2007. I did a little research on them. They're interesting.
They're French.
They are France. Stade Rennes.
No, they're like the French teams all have so many scoutable players. When you watch it, a lot of people complain about just the boring nature of the games, and it is. But like, there's so much talent within it, though.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rennes is one of those teams that has a good academy and it brings up good kids.
And lastly, as a qualification play-in for Europa will be Bordeaux. Probably lose Malcolm in the summer. Snuck in the Europa
Yeah.
on the last day.
You shall see.
Bordeaux.
Pardon.
Relegation, Metz, Troyes, and Toulouse is in a playoff with a TBD team, I believe. Same deal as Bundesliga. Big questions here are, I have in my notes, see La Liga. Does Neymar stay?
I don't think that's the big question. I think the big question is, does Nabil Fekir go to Liverpool?
That's on here.
Ah, okay.
That's on here.
We've already discussed the
No, we
Neymar
had. That's why I
thing,
said see La Liga.
Yeah.
Does Monaco sell everyone? We kind of talked about that. Yeah, the Fekir, though. Do you think he leaves?
Yeah.
Gone.
I don't know if he goes
time.
to Liverpool, but I know he's gone. It's that time. I thought he should have left a year and a half ago.
There is one other major question. Does Balotelli stay?
No, he's going back to Italy.
To where?
I don't know, but he's already announced that he's not coming back to Nice.
No, yeah.
I think he's gonna. Napoli were said to be interested. No, Roma. Roma coach made it known that he's interested.
Okay. Yeah, this is boy Checo. This one I call the Vino Magnum. Cavani, 28 goals. Thauvin, 22. Neymar with 19. Neymar leads the league in assists, 13. Payet also, and Depay with 13 assists. Clean sheets are the PSG. Areola with 17. Lyon's keeper, Lopez, with 14. And Lecomte with 14 from Montpellier. As mentioned, there are no awards this week. Balotelli, and the match is in the books. Diving for Glory, episode 38, man. That's what it is. As always, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate anyone who takes the time to check us out. Next season, look for D4G blogging to pick up, as well as video D4G coming to YouTube. Don't forget, Diving for Glory will post our final episode next Tuesday, May 29th. Champs League final thoughts and the prestigious and egregious D4G year-end awards. Check us on iTunes and divingforglory.com. You can also find our audio on YouTube. Video D4G next season, man. As mentioned, follow us on Twitter at Diving for Glory, Facebook as well. Follow it, hashtag it, like it, get at us. Till next week, Corsiola, Solomon.
Peace.
Match.
Diving. What do you think about them?
There's nothing more to say.
Dive in.